Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Gaily Titan. And in this case, I'm calling this episode Reviewer's Remorse because last Tuesday I prepared a video on the early stages of the Polish tech tree. I decided I wasn't going to do an individual first look at video for each of the first 4 tanks in the Polish tech tree. Mostly because I used some experience boosters from the Summer Games Alpha, which I have now completed, in order to speed up my progress through the early stages of the Polish tech tree. So as a result of that, I had very few games for each of the tanks played before releasing them. Like I had 1 game in the first tank, I think maybe 2 or 3 games in the second tank, those kind of numbers. And I felt that I didn't know the tanks well enough to really voice a reasonable opinion in a first look at type video. But I had decided that the 10 TP and the 14 TP were among 2 of the worst tanks that I've ever had the misfortune to drive. Mostly because the ammunition is so poor, it's so bad, it will not penetrate. It's got very poor penetration values, and the poor penetration values are the source of my issues with these tanks. Now that said, most of the games I had played with those tanks, they were bottom tier. So the combination of the two meant that I had a very, very poor opinion of the tank. Despite the fact that on the 14 TP's case, I actually showed in the video, the game that I showed is an ace tanker game on the 14 TP on the Malinovka map, where I am bottom tier. So it's tier 4 tank in a tier 6, very strong tier 6 game. But I essentially acted as a passive scout. I got the ace tanker game because I had been a very effective passive scout. That is, I had been hiding in a bush basically for most of the game without really firing my gun at all. This is a different kind of game. We're top tier. We have to defend this location, because if we don't defend this location, the enemy will overrun the position and get into our cap circle. So I'm using premium ammunition more or less exclusively because I kind of basically had such a poor opinion of the tank. But that said, I don't think I would have survived this particular fight if I wasn't. I mean, we bounced a premium round off the ass end of an M5 Stuart. Now the Stuart's a reasonably well armoured tank for its tier, but it's not exactly one of the most heavily armoured tanks in the game. Tier 5 tanks, this gun, there's a lot of tier 5 tanks this gun won't penetrate. Certainly with regular ammunition, and it will struggle to penetrate them, except maybe at weak spots with premium ammunition. The KV series, KV1, KV1, captured KV1, KV220, that whole series of tanks will be one example. From any direction you will have trouble penetrating the KV1. And the problem is, if you're close enough to actually get a penetrating hit, then the KV1 can see you and shoot back at you. And his gun shoots just as fast as yours does, but it does a way more damage and is much more significant impact. So your shots will bounce and his shots will go through. Even at tier 4, something like the DW2 or the Needle is going to give this tank a hard time from the front because they're actually quite strongly armoured. What else? Matilda will demolish it utterly. You'll have real trouble penetrating a Matilda with this thing. If you can do it at all, you might be able to do it, but you won't be doing it with every round. So you'll be bouncing a lot of rounds. So again, you'll have the same problem. You come up against the Matilda with this thing and you're in serious trouble. So far, fortunately, I haven't done so. So I've been able to hold that corner. I've got 4 kills and 750 points of damage. It's practically double my hit points. Speaking of DW2s, there's one here. Now he is holding up basically 2 tanks, and I've managed to get a hit in under the tracks, right up I think, through the top of the tracks and in behind the front drive wheel. But I don't think any of my subsequent shots hit. And I can't really hang around because I can't just afford to take the damage. But it causes the DW2 to look in my direction, which gives the other 2 tanks an opportunity to take him out. Which was really what I wanted to do. It was the bulk of what I wanted to achieve. This has now freed us up in this corner, and we can go on the offensive, which is what I wanted to do. So, have I completely changed my opinion on the 14 TP? No, not as much, but it's not as bad as I thought it was. It is actually playable when it's top tier, and when it's not top tier, you're really going to have to find a way to either scout for your team, which is probably the best thing you can do, or try and track tanks from a distance, because pretty much if they can see you, they can kill you, and you really can't do the same back to them. You can't return the favour, so you get taken out of your the game pretty quickly, because people have a tendency to go for the weaker, lower tier tanks. They'll go for the kill. There's a lot of most play now is kind of personal stat type play, as far as I can see. There are probably very few genuinely new players joining the game, I would think, and it's a fairly veteran play base that's playing all the time, and the ones that are good are playing for the win, and the ones that are not good are playing for personal damage. So they'll prioritise not necessarily the most dangerous tank, but the one that's easiest to kill, even if that tank represents no actual threat to them. But that is the way it is. Because it's a low tier tank, because the 10 TP in it. So the 10 TP is probably not as bad as I thought it was either. I just never played it with the top gun, and I never played it against its peers, against tanks of the same tier or lower tiers. So it may not be as bad again as I thought it was. However, they're not exactly great tanks, but the thing is, when you're low tiers, you don't play a lot of games. You don't have to play a lot of games. So a poor tank is easy to put up with. You're not playing it for long, and then you have the tank deleted, and you move on to the next tank, and you head off. And you get tanks that you know you could do better in. Like it's not one of those tanks either. It's not like the Churchill gun garage, where it's slow and awkward and difficult to play, but you know it has a really good gun, and you could do better in it if you spent the time and learned how to use that tank. But in the case of, you couldn't be bothered, because the failings of the tank don't make the game fun. In this case, it's not a tank I'm going to come back to, but I did manage to get an ace tanker in a battle against his peers by actually fighting my corner, so it's not a total write-off. Still, I felt it warranted a video where I corrected what I had said previously, and this is it. So not as bad as I thought it was, basically. So that's pretty much it. 10,000 more experience on this tank, and the crew will be ready to move on to the tier 5 to 25 TP. So I hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting. If you did, please give it a like and a share. Feel free to comment. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, because it really helps the channel out. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.